Hello. Hello,
Hello.
everyone. Hello, Monica. Oh my God. I'm so excited to have you today.
I'm so excited.
This episode had a very special test because we've been knowing each other for,
Oh my
can I
God.
say, like 7 years or something?
Easily, yes.
Oh, yeah, it's been a long time. And we met in Dubai. And I literally fall in love with you like a
Same.
friend. No, it was amazing. And we worked together on so many projects and so many ideas and so many things. And here we are today. And I'm just so happy that life decided never separate
Yes,
from each other.
exactly.
So it's
We
a
need
very
another podcast to tell our story. That can be
definitely,
another episode.
definitely we could talk during hours because we created like clothes for babies. We created,
Anything that comes to mind.
you don't want to know. You don't want to know. But so basically, here you are today because you actually have your own company focused on the client experience, but you are also part of the CocoSpark team, which has an even bigger test for me because it's just, like you were there from the very beginning of CocoSpark. You saw me completely crazy and dying. You were completely crazy and dying working at 3 a.m. to make all of this happen. And a few years later, here we are. It's been an
Yes,
adventure, but the best is yet to come because of you also, because you are the specialist in client experience, and which
I'm
is the
so
whole topic.
I'm so
Of,
happy to be part of the CocoSpark team. Yay!
it's so much love between us, but guys, one day I will explain to you the story of behind all of that.
Exactly.
So can you introduce yourself briefly, just for those who don't know you yet? And then we're going to talk about a very specific topic today, but let's start by the story behind.
Yeah, so my name is Monica Hernandez Gonzalez because in Mexico we do use two last names. But I'm from Mexico, from a city called Monterrey. That's where I spent most of my childhood. But then I think what's given me my whole background is that I've had the chance to live in so many places and to work for so many different companies, my own businesses. And this is what actually brought me to the client experience. Since I was a little kid, I used to travel a lot with my parents. And I don't know why I always was attracted by companies that were doing something specific that made me feel like I wanted to be part of the brand. My dad used to work for Coca-Cola company. So I think that's where it all started because everything was like in my house, everything was Coca-Cola. And even if we were like traveling on an airplane and someone came to offer me a drink and I would be like, if it's not Coke, I don't want it, and I was like a 5-year-old kid, and my parents were like, I promise I'm not telling her to do this. So it's something that it's I don't know, it's part of me, a part of me that I really feel like companies need to make you part of their brand so that you become a fan. So this is where I was interested in like what's behind this. So I worked for Disney for like 8 months or so, and this is where I understood even more like where it all came from. So yeah, that's a bit of my background. I'm a makeup artist as well, as you know. And that also gave me a lot of like contact with clients and understanding the psychology behind it. So it's just a mix of everything that I think that's brought me here today.
And now you have your company. It's been how long now you have your own company? Make it
Since
memory.
2022, and I
Wow.
started it with I have a co-founder, and she has worked with hotels. So we both have very different backgrounds, but at the same time, things that complement each other when it comes to client experience, because she's more focused on like the tourism side. She
Mhm.
also studied image, so she knows about styling. Like it just blended together perfectly.
And the thing is, like the CocoSpark clients can actually work with you to improve their client
Yeah,
experience, which is
that's the idea. Yes.
I love so much with the CocoSpark ecosystem is the fact that we are a team of experts and everybody is like the best of the best in their own field, and you have access to all these experts in the CocoSpark ecosystem. So thank you again for being part of this family. The topic of the day is just a very interesting topic because like when we when we talked about what are we going to talk about during this podcast, we were like, okay, so what is the current difficulty that we can see maybe in our clients' daily routine or in our own businesses? And the fact that growing and the growth of a company can always be fighting with keeping this essence that you have when you are a small business. And this is something that we really want to keep in CocoSpark.
Yeah.
Like we grow every single day. We are very excited about that. But at the end of the day, we really want to put limits. This is why we said like we are fully booked now until September, because we don't want to accept more people. We want to keep the quality of the experience. And this is something that you said, like this is a perfect topic. You found this perfect topic thing. Like this is always a balanced question. And so I would like you to dive into this a bit more, like if you don't.
Yeah, it's something that is very common. Businesses start becoming more transactional because we all want to grow, which is amazing. We're not against growing. We all want to grow our businesses. But the thing is that you have to find that balance where you're not losing and starting to focus on the exchange of making the sale and everything that's behind making money, which we all want to make money, but you start forgetting the client's journey. And this is where we get a bit lost and we don't realize that actually that's going to hurt us more than we think.
I think there is something that is definitely interesting in the luxury world, even more than everywhere else, which is at the moment, we all know that luxury industry is, I won't say struggling, but is going through a very interesting path.
Yes.
Which is just being expensive is not enough. And the product itself is not enough.
No.
People really want to live an experience. And you can see it, for example, I think that you have so many luxury brands that are like, for example, opening cafes or opening experimental areas and shops and things like that. So they clearly understood that there is something else to create if they want their clients to be loyal.
Yeah, and it's because it's so weird. Nobody wakes up and like decides to be transactional. It happens little by little. And that's what's dangerous, that you don't realize it until probably it already happened. It's not something that, oh, this day it became like that. Think about this like a small coffee place that you've always gone to. They know your name. They even remember what you order. And all of a sudden it becomes a franchise. And one day you go in and you're like, why didn't they say, hi, Maddie? Why does this person doesn't know my order anymore? And it's because they're so focused on the processes. It all became about like the systems, automation, everything that's behind making the company more efficient, but they lost the touch, which in like starting the business, that's what brought the clients to you.
Okay, but so what's the solution? Because the thing is, like, as we said, it's just about, is it possible to keep the growth mindset and the client experience mindset? Like,
Absolutely.
is it something that's compatible, or it's just like how to do? Like, as you said, when we grow, we are going to hire more people. These people, you have to train them, but not all of them have the same interest. You know, like some of them just don't care that much about the client experience, or they just don't have the same level of you know what I mean? So the fact that it's okay, yeah, we train the teams, but the thing is, like, you don't always have someone behind their back to double check everything, but it's first human thing, you know, like the client experience in general. So how to keep growing and maintaining the level of expectations, and even more like the level of desirability.
Yeah, you do have to find that balance that I'm talking about. And it's the most important thing is that you do not get focused on the processes, and that you start looking at the client journey as if you were the customer. You know, like I think that's the biggest problem, that you get stuck in the process and you're like, this is working, it's so efficient, and you forget about coming in and acting as a customer and saying, okay, let me see this. If I were a customer, would this actually work? Do I feel like it's going quickly? Do I feel like I'm comfortable? Do I feel like they're making me do so much stuff? Because there's actually, I think, 4 mistakes that are the biggest ones when it comes to this. First of all is assuming that the customer knows what's happening. That's a huge one. We see it even online, you know, like people think like, oh yeah, the information is there, so they can find out. Yeah, but you need to help the customer. So assuming that the customer knows what's happening, even when you talk about like delivery, if there's going to be a delay, let's say construction, we've worked with construction companies and you see this every day. It's very rare that they actually finish when they said they were going to finish because lots of things happen. You know this. Paint didn't arrive, the color wasn't the correct one, whatever. But if you tell the client what is happening, the client understands delays more than uncertainty. Definitely. Like they will always be grateful if you let them know what is happening, where we're going. Not if you just stay silent and the client is like,
But there is a question about that, which is like, everywhere, but maybe even more in luxury, we always say like under promise and over deliver. And this is something that works as well with delays. And we
Yes.
actually use it every single day. We always say like, oh, it will be delivered in a month, and then we deliver in 2 weeks. But it also allows us some flexibility in case things go wrong and we have to adapt.
Yes.
So this is something that can be actually a proper tip, like for the people listening to us today, like
Yes.
under promise and over deliver.
That is something we always teach. It's the best thing you can do because you're going to meet the expectations of the client, but without them knowing that you're actually going to deliver more than you're promising. That's one of the biggest tips you can do when it comes to client experience. You don't want to, the other way around, overpromise and then not deliver what you promised, because that's when you lose the customer. And then we can also talk about unnecessary friction. This is something that I think companies do not understand. It's okay that we do templates, that we have emails, but when everything starts to sound the same, like I get an email from a company and it's the same as the message I got from them from WhatsApp, and it's the same as, and it starts to be like very generic, and it stops being like the company is talking to Monica. It's like they're talking to anyone. And all of this like templates that you have to fill in, that I understand it's part of a process that you have to do, especially in luxury. We've talked about this before, because you have a very specific market and you don't want to get lost, and you want to understand who your clients are. So all this is amazing, but you need to find a balance where you're not losing the clients because they feel like they're doing too much job. It's like, I don't want to do this, like this is too much for me.
But I have a question, because I think, and I think it's a question that I already know the answer because we've been working together for a while, but for the people listening, this is just like the particularity of the luxury industry, which is in absolutely everywhere else, you would say you have to make it easy to buy your product. Right? But in the luxury industry particularly, it can be sometimes the full opposite. Like we keep talking about Birkin bag.
Definitely, I totally
agree.
agree.
And it's a disaster. Like it's impossible to get one. So when can you switch from one to the other? When do you know that your clients are ready to understand scarcity, to understand desirability? Can I say that? Yeah. To understand the fact that now working with you or getting a product from you is actually it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be a privilege.
Yeah. I think it's a very thin line that you have to understand. And I totally get what you're saying, because with luxury products, that's how they become luxury, because you want to wear the brand. It's the example you always give that I love about the shoes. It's not the shoe, it's that you want to wear that specific brand of shoe to make you feel important, whatever it makes you feel, sexy. Yeah. But the thing is, I don't feel those companies lose their client touch. There's still that journey. There's still that feeling of I am being a part of something and I want to be a part of it. I feel like they do their client journey very well, where they understand where the client is coming from, where they're going, when they make the sale, what happens after. Like all of this, they have a map. It's not like they just became like a important bag and that you want to be in the list to buy it and that's it. No. There's a full behind the scenes thing that's happening where you want to be a part of their world. And that's when they get you. That's when you become that client that doesn't want to leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a real topic, and I think it could be an entire podcast about that. It's the fact that when we talk about clients, about strategy, and when you talk with them about creating this memorable experience. It's a topic and a fear that comes on the table a lot of the time. Thing like that when we are talking about limited editions, for example, trying to explain to them and to put together a strategy, you know, for them to develop limited editions or a special edition for a special occasion, or just the fact that it's not that easy, you know. I remember I had a conversation with a jewelry designer, and I was like, but the fact that they can directly book on your website, like just a Google a call or something, it means like I click and I can see you, but you should be not easy to be reached. Like you know what? I'm not sure about my English. But you got my point. It's like it shouldn't be that easy to be in touch with you. Like you are the star of your brand, so
Yes.
you shouldn't be easy to reach. And she was like, yeah, but you know, I'm still not that famous, you know. And then this is now actually you have to start to behave this way. So it's like a virtuous circle, you know. And
Yeah.
it's very interesting fear from people coming from, let's say, a more mass market mindset. Like I have to remove all the frictions.
Yeah.
To like when you want to upgrade, which is it actually has to be more complicated to work with us. So it's it could be an entire topic.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and I understand what you're saying, and it's completely true. But I feel it's not the challenge is not the growth and how scarce you make yourself. It's more about staying aware, and this happens when, as I mentioned, you play the part as a customer.
Yeah.
And try to be the customer for your company and see what is happening. It's very rare that someone actually calls their own company and sees what happens. And
True.
that is like the biggest tip I can give you to do today. Like literally just call, you know, like if it's only you can't call yourself, but but or maybe you can. But I mean, just to see the process as a customer, because we get so tangled in the processes that it's very easy to say like, yeah, this is working. It's so efficient. It's so good. Like people are understanding. Yeah, but you forgot about how the customer is seeing it, because we're also very emotionally attached to our brands. So it's very easy to say like, oh, this is amazing. It's working. I put so many hours into this, blah, 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 which is true. But the customer doesn't see any of that. The customer just sees the final product, the final service, and that is the only thing that they know about your brand. So that's why it's very important not to, the friction, I mean, is, for example, let's think, I'm going to go a bit more generic, but let's think of an airline where you're trying to call someone and tell them about a problem you had with a reservation. And you talk to a person and, oh yeah, you tell them the whole story. And then they're like, oh, wait, I'm not the right person. Let me connect you to blah, blah, blah. And they connect you to the next person and you have to tell the whole story again. This is the kind of friction I'm saying. It's so easy that the person that answered the first time communicates to the next person what they just spoke to you about. And then when you talk to the next person, it's you start the conversation where you ended it. You don't have to tell the whole story. You know, that's the kind of friction I'm talking about, where you start losing, you know, the client, because it's like, now I have to do all this work, which is not my job. Like someone else should be doing this for me. And yeah, I think that's the kind of friction. And friction applies differently, as you're saying, to different companies. You know, like if you're talking about a luxury company, friction might be something different to when we're talking about a more like mass market company. It
Yeah, I see
definitely
what you mean.
changes.
But the thing is, like, we accept it when you pay a very small amount of money, but when you pay a lot of money, this is just not acceptable. Like, this is
Exactly.
something that is going to be like a big no for someone. Like, if you have this plain thing is a very good example, and if you have to leave that in a luxury airline company, definitely won't be the same. So
Definitely not. We recently had an experience actually, because we were at a place where they just did a new they have a new flight to this specific city that they didn't do before, and we were at the counter and they were training one of their new employees to know how to do the system, blah blah blah. But we were there for, I think, maybe 40 minutes, and I was like, no, like this is not right. You know, like I can be a client that understands that you are training someone, which is fine. Like if you made a mistake and someone comes over and explains, I'm fine with that. But if you're training the person while you're trying to give me the service, you know, and it's like a priority line, you're like, no, this is not, you cannot do that. That's the type of friction I'm talking about. That's when you lose, because it was a luxury service until you did that. And then that's where you're like, oh, whoops. And yeah, you can.
We see that more and more in absolutely every field. So many things. And I mean, we live in Dubai, but you don't anymore. But you remember maybe that Dubai was very interesting about that, because they kept calling themselves luxury for absolutely everything. But at the end of the day, just to have someone being able to turn on the light or to explain how this panel works,
Yes.
with all these buttons, we have a story about that. It's not even possible to have someone to just turn off the light or something like that. And you're like,
yes,
what the beep? It's just like the price per night in this hotel is insane. And they are all like, like nobody has an answer to a simple question. So this is like, you're so right when you're saying that it was luxury until it collapsed. And it's in small details. And the more you go in luxury and very high luxury, the more it's all about these details, that actually everything is just like, really, so you don't accept these things. The more you pay, the less you accept things.
Exactly. And that would be a whole other podcast, but it's all about the training.
We already have 4 podcasts.
Write it down. Okay, so let's go to number 3. Number 3 would be being reactive instead of being proactive. What do I mean with this? It's when something happens, a mistake happens in your company, and now you're like trying to put fires off, and trying to fix the problem, instead of thinking, what are the problems that could come up? And let me be proactive and teach my team or myself what I would need to do if this happens. So that's another mistake that we regularly see, where people are just waiting to see, well, we'll just see what happens. And then something happens and you have to be reactive, and you don't want that. Especially in luxury, you want to have the answers even before things happen.
Trying to anticipate the worst case scenarios, basically.
Yes, exactly.
And this is something that I keep talking about. It's database of case study that could be from your own experience in your daily life, but saying like, oh, this is completely something that could happen in my business, in my company. And then, okay, so we have to be ready in case it happens. So to have a database of all this worst case scenario.
Yeah, it sounds horrible, but it works,
But yeah, it's just something that you can actually afford not to be prepared in the mass market company, but in luxury, you have to anticipate as much as possible. Definitely. Exactly. I love this one. We should do a t-shirt with it. Yeah.
Yes. And the last one, which is actually my favorite one, is treating client experience as a department and not as a mindset or part of your culture in your brand. That is a huge one, because we regularly think like client experience and you go to customer service, and you think of this booth of customer support where you can go and say like, this was a bad product, can I exchange it? And client experience is completely different. It's not a department. It's something that has to be a mindset in your company. It has to be something that has been trained. It's part of the culture. It's already something that works within your system. It's not like just a department that if there's a problem, you go there and see what happens. So I really love that, because it gives us an understanding of the difference between customer service and client experience.
Oh God, and I'm thinking about like all the 5 stars hotel and palaces you have, like in France, for example, and we work with, and they have a client experience department and someone just in charge of it. And it shows how important it is to focus on that, and to like the database. I had I'm not going to say any name, but I have a friend of mine who actually was in charge of the event in this very huge hotel. Yeah. And he told me just a bit of the behind the scene of the database, like all the information they had about each of their clients. And for a huge hotel like that, you're like, this is insane. Like it's a full-time job, definitely. Yes. You need an entire department to manage all of these information and details. So it's just like the CRM is something I keep talking about, but it's just so important to have as many information as possible about your client so you can personalize everything. But it is exactly the topic about the today's topic, which is how to scale without losing that, because having that level of personalization and intention and everything, when you scale, it's not easy to maintain. Definitely.
No. And the clue is designing both, you know, you don't have to, like, it's not about choosing efficiency over choosing the client experience. It's about how you design both so that they meet in the perfect spot and you have that efficiency without losing your client experience, and that the client feels like there's a journey and that they're being accompanied throughout all of it, and they feel like they're part of your company. They want to come back. Like this is what we want.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's just not don't it's great. Don't underestimate the client experience, because I have so many numbers and statistics saying like people are so willing to pay more for a good experience. And I have so many stories, and I'm sure if you check in your own life, in your own daily stories, you know, that you've already accepted to work with someone who is maybe less efficient, but the experience is amazing. But also the opposite, like someone who is actually very good, but the experience is a nightmare. And it's interesting to see that it can actually balance the quality of the service and the product. So if you know that, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say that efficiency saves time, which we all want. But the thing is not to lose the awareness, because awareness is what protects the connection with the client. When it just becomes about efficiency, anyone can do that, you know? Like now we have so many systems and AI and everything that you can make everything so efficient. The key is not losing the awareness. That's what makes the difference.
So if we should resume the 4 points, can you do a summary for us?
Yeah, of course. So the first one we said is assuming the customer knows everything. The second one is creating friction that's not necessary. The third one would be being reactive instead of being proactive. And the fourth one is mistaking client experience as a department and not thinking of it as a mindset.
That is interesting to realize. Like, I think most of the people we work with, or the CEOs we work with, or the companies we work with, and you work with them, they don't really have just a simple client experience workflow. They just think about it like moment by moment, you know, like, oh, we should offer them a gift when they sign the contract. Oh, that's great. Okay, fine. Oh, we should do this. But they don't have like a clear roadmap of the entire experience. So this is something that you always recommend as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's actually called a map, like the map of the client journey. You have to have that journey established. And obviously there can be a few things or details that change depending on the specific client, which is what makes it luxury, what makes it special. But you have a structure. It's not like, let's see what happens. You know, it's a structure where you know that, yeah, exactly. Where you know exactly when the client is coming, how they found you, what is happening next after that, how the sale is going to be, when it's delivered, and then what happens after. So it has to be a complete journey that you've already structured. And as I mentioned, if I were to leave you with anything today, is go back and don't want to see like all of your customer journey. Focus on one thing. Focus on one part of the journey for today and just look at it and say, is this easy? Do the customers understand what I'm trying to say with this step or whatever you're trying to accomplish with it? And do I make the customer want to stay? Like, those are questions you want to ask in each of the steps, because otherwise, if something is like what we talked about, friction, where there's too much friction, then the client is going to probably leave before you even know they were in the company.
Yeah. And there is something about leaving, you know, this moment when you say like, I don't want to be there anymore. And I love that guy. I don't know if you know him, called Alex Hormozy.
No.
It's more about, oh, you have to, he's amazing. It's more about mass market businesses, but some of the things from his book, but from his like everything can definitely be duplicated. And there is something that he's saying is we need small victories. When you have a long-term journey with a client, we need a small victory from the beginning. And I'm like, oh, this is so true. Like at the very beginning, when you onboard a new client, usually you always need a bit of time on your side, you know, like to get all the elements and everything. And it's just super boring. And then if you just have a bit of complication for any reason, like you cannot connect to this or something, it already starts being a nightmare for everybody. So it's just like the best way not to start in a good way, a relationship with the client. And I love the idea of like, you need a small victory. So it doesn't need to be a gift or something like that. It's just about something that happens, saying like, see, like, this is why you signed, and see, we already have like a result, a surprise, like something happening that goes in the right direction. So he comes from the fitness industry. So for example, for him, it's just having something delivered or something that is like losing 1 kilo or I don't know, but it's just like, I love this idea of trying, like, even if you should have result in long-term strategy, which is, for example, in CocoSpark, our case, like it's not going to come from one day to the other. But something I love, for example, when we work with social media management, is the fact that most of our clients, they hate social media management and they ask us to do it for them. And we have a department for social media management. And I love when after just 1 week, we start having like 100 likes, 1,000 views and things like that. And they're like, oh my goodness. I was like,
I told you.
Small victories, so it's nothing compared to what's going to happen in a long-term strategy, but it's already like, wow, okay. So it doesn't need to be huge, but just to highlight the small victories, just to keep the excitement of the commitment, if I can
love
say.
that. Yes, yeah, definitely. Definitely it makes a big difference, because then the customer feels like even though they haven't gotten to the finish line, they're getting somewhere. And that makes you want to
Small
stay.
steps.
What we're talking about. Yeah, definitely.
And to celebrate the small steps as well. That is something that is, I think there is a huge difference between many different businesses. Like when you get a product, you get the product, that's great. And then you just continue in the ecosystem. But when you work in a long-term strategy with someone, to celebrate the small victories throughout the entire journey.
Yes.
So now I have a question, because the whole point of this podcast, this one, is how to scale without losing the quality of the client experience, basically. But so the question is how to do. So in the end, should we integrate the workflow inside of the processes? Should we work more on training the team? Should we be more demanding about the people we hire when we scale? Like, what are all the things we need to focus on to be sure that we can scale safety in a safe environment, So
I think it's a mix of everything, if you want me to be honest. Number one, if you're hiring a team, everything starts with who you hire. That's the truth. Like you have to know who you're hiring and that they match your brand. After that, it becomes training, because obviously people need to be trained. It can't come out of nowhere that because the person is a nice person, then they're good at treating customers. That's not how it works. They have to have training. And then after this, it's exactly what you're saying. When when you start growing, you want to stay aware. That's why I mentioned, yes, you want to be efficient, but the awareness of what's happening and how your customer feels is what's important. You want to step out, look at what you're creating, treat it as if you're a customer. That makes such a big difference, because when we go to another company, it's always very easy to be like, oh, how are they making me do this? Oh, this is late. And then you don't realize that you're probably doing the same thing in your company. And it's easy for you to notice it in someone else, but not in your own, because you've been caught up in your own process that you don't realize that. So stepping outside of that zone and actually acting as a customer and analyzing each step and seeing like, okay, yes, if I were a customer, I would love this. No, this makes me feel like I'm doing too much work. Yes, this is inviting. This makes me feel like I want to be a part of this journey. And that's when you're actually, it's easier than we think. That's when you're actually going to notice if there's something that's off or it's working like it should. And you can even, like, if you feel like, no, I can't because I'm too attached to my business, I won't be able to notice it. Get a friend, ask them, like literally, or get someone outside. You know how you can hire shoppers? In Disney, they do this all the time. And then they come in and they see what's happening. And because their eyes are not involved in the behind the scenes, how much it costs you to put the business, how many hours you put into it, they're not looking at any of that. They're just acting as a customer. And they are the ones who can see these blind spots that are causing anything that might be affecting that part of the client experience that you do not want to lose. Because as you mentioned at the beginning, businesses, there are a lot. There are many. Let me put my example as a makeup artist. How many makeup artists are there? Like if I were to focus on competition and who does makeup and who does makeup well, there are so many good makeup artists. What is the difference? The client experience, how I treat the client, what I do, how I contact them before, after, during, like all this is what makes the difference, and they want to come back. And this applies to every single business. It doesn't matter if you sell a product, if you sell a service, anything, even online, like there's a huge mistake of, even when we have businesses online, that we think like, oh, all the information, as I mentioned, is there, and then customers are like asking questions and there's no one to reply and you lost them. And the biggest mistake, I think, is thinking that if you don't have anyone complaining, everything's working. And silence is your worst enemy, because I'd rather have a complaint and understand what's happening, if there's something wrong that I need to fix, than having silence and not knowing if something's off.
I had numbers about that, like the number of people who actually are unhappy and just leave compared to the numbers of people really complaining. And it's insane. So
Yes.
sometimes it's just about this little voice in your head saying like something's wrong, but it doesn't want to tell me. And just to say like, please share your point of view. It could be very helpful for me, actually, if you can share your point of view and your feedback. But you just said two things that I really, well, you said many things I love, but some things I want to highlight a bit is the fact that the frontline people in luxury is something that you cannot not pay attention to. In the mass market, we are less demanding, let's say, about the people in the front line, and it is what it is. But like, you don't pay a lot, so it works, But in luxury, these people in the shop are just so important. They make the brand. And I've seen lately in a brand I really love, and I won't tell the name, but if you know, you know, that I was there in Dubai, in the boutique in Dubai, and I was like, really? Like, she was showing, like a chewing gum. She had like nails like that, very, very, and I was like, no, and I was so shocked that they let that happening, and like, how is it possible that you build this brand and you have so many stories like that brands that were actually pretty luxury premium something, and they just collapsed for many reasons, but also the fact that the service was so bad. And there is a moment when it's not exclusive anymore and you don't feel like you are a princess when you enter the shop or something like that. It's just, okay, well, thank you, but no thank you. And I was very disappointed because I love this brand so much. So the frontline people are so, so important. And something else that you said about like getting inspired by your daily life, something I suggest to all my clients, if they are not used to, because most of them do, but we never know, is actually sometimes just to go in a 5-star hotel for a coffee, or just to, to pass by for a glass of champagne or something like that. Just see how they act and how it works and get inspired. If you go to a 5-star, maybe not 5-star, but restaurant or like something like that, and you just study, just learn. And you can even put it in your accounting, because it's actually for training, training. So it's just, but it's true that you can learn so much from the luxury. Hospitality is a very amazing school. This is why I love so much learning from LVMH, for example, or like no link between, but anyway, but just like in general, using your own experience is actually very, very interesting and very inspiring. Definitely.
Yes, it's life-changing, to be honest, when you start doing that, because otherwise it's very easy to get caught on your day-to-day and stop noticing what's actually happening. So yeah, I mean, it sounds easy, and you might be like, oh, I thought this was going to be like a more complicated answer, but it's not. That's the thing, that it's so easy to fix, Maybe the process, it'll take time if you need to redo all your journey of your clients for some reason, but it's regularly just small details that you have been losing while you grow, and that you just have to go back and redo them, fix whatever needs to be fixed, and voila.
I have a case study for you. I just had a very interesting interview with a potential client, and he lives in an Arabic country and is one of the best in this specific field, but he struggles so much with the people, like the employees. And he said the problem is like they are very well paid compared to all the others in the area. But the thing is, they don't care that much about being well paid. If they don't want to do something, or if you ask them to do something they don't want, they just quit, and that's fine. So it's so complicated to find competent people for this specific field and specific jobs. Then there is a moment that is between like, I want to fire them, but I can't because I will struggle to find other people, and they know that. So this is why they actually don't do the job properly, but it is limited with the quality, let's say, of people he can hire. So it's a kind of an endless story. And I suggested to hire actually someone in charge of the client experience department, just to manage all of that, because it was actually not his job to do it. And to just be behind their back all the time and all the time. So the frontline people, it's a long story, just another topic now, another podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because I don't know specifically what industry you're talking about, but honestly it applies to everything. The thing is, once you've hired a team, you need to focus on the training. And something that a lot of companies don't understand is that it all starts with leadership, and people follow what you do. That's the truth. Like, if you have a business, and you will understand this better than anyone, you want people to act the way you act, to reply to a customer the way you reply to a customer. And this is not magic. It doesn't happen by magic. It's not like you hire me and I know exactly how Maddie would reply to a customer. You have to train your people. And if you lost track of that training, you need to go back and somehow fix something's off on the leadership. I'm sorry to say, but that's what regularly happens, where you have to have this communication where the team understands that we're all here for the same reason. We're all going somewhere in the same direction. So sometimes it's something that has nothing to do with the client experience, and it's more about, well, yes, because it's about leadership where everything comes from. But what I mean is, sometimes the blind spot is hidden in something that's happening at the top that is not being communicated, and something is lost there where you need to get on board. And there's a lot of training that we regularly do when issues like that happen. So yeah, the best thing to do is to hire someone that's in that specific area, and that they understand, and that they will find what is off that's causing all of this.
Yeah, that's definitely a long project.
Yes.
And so if people want to go further with you, they can actually, like our client from CocoSpark, can work directly with you. You can work with them on the process. You can work with them on creating a training. You can work with them on all these different steps we talked about today, but so much more. And if there is one last thing you would like to share with us, a tip or an advice or anything we should get from this podcast today from you, what would it be?
I think it's just to see your business as a customer. For me, that's the most important part, because whenever you put yourself in someone else's shoes, as everything else, that is when you can actually visualize, see what's happening. Just go outside, step outside for a bit, and just try to see your business as if it were someone else's business. That for me is the biggest tip I can give you today.
Yeah. And I think there is something that I've heard, or maybe I said it myself, but it's something that said, basically when the client complains or leave, not all of them are just bad people. Some of them maybe try to understand what was wrong. And in another side, I keep saying that because when people keep coming to you without being qualified, it's not because people don't have money anymore. No, it's because you send a message out there that you could fit with their budget. And it works the same way with absolutely everything, which is like people complaining are not all assholes, but maybe they are just complaining because it is something that could be interesting for you to fix, actually. So just to accept to stay humble and to accept the feedbacks, because this is how you can improve your client experience.
That is so important, because we always talk about this, when you feel in oh, I want to know what your experience was like with a company and everything. But if you don't do anything about those replies that you're getting and the feedback, that it's worth nothing, just forget, don't even do it, because you're wasting your time, the customer's time. If I'm not going to get a reply when I asked for something, or I talked about feedback from your company, then you're just wasting your time.
Yeah, it's so. I have so many examples. I just bought an apartment off plan, and I keep sending them emails just for a simple question. Nobody wants to reply to me. And last time I called, and for once, finally I called, and I said like, "This is insane." I sent maybe 20 emails. Nobody never replied to me. And then they replied by email after I had to call to complain about the fact that it didn't reply. So they received my email. So it's just like, and it's huge amount of money because you buy an apartment, it's not like, I was like, how is it possible? Like a big company like that with so many, they just don't even reply to their clients' emails. So it's just sometimes very basics, but yeah, it's a topic for the next podcast number 8.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, I think don't think like, oh no, now I have to start over again, and this is such a huge and get overwhelmed. Like it doesn't have to be like that. Just step outside a bit, and it's probably going to be 1 or 2 details that you'll find that you can make better. And that's going to change the whole client experience.
And the onboarding is one of the most important because this is a few moments just after the client said yes or bought the product, and you can ruin everything or you can skyrocket the entire experience. So it's worth working on it. So the people from the CocoSpark family can work with you whenever they want. They know it. They actually enjoy it. We see you actually very soon for the masterclass because every month we have a masterclass with one of our experts. So I'm very excited for you to share with all our clients so many of the things that you share with them in private or like your experience, your skills and everything. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being part of this incredible adventure. And thank you for this hour together. And it was amazing having you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Maddie. And thank you to everyone listening. If you have any questions, you can DM Maddie. That's my client experience. Maddie takes care of it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Guys, thank you for listening or watching. I see you very soon for the next episode, and I wish you a beautiful day. Bye-bye.
Bye.